All right, so well, I just had a two or three small questions. All of it's not based on morality, but I know in your intro to your song to your show talks about reason. It says reason on a few different occasions.
Yeah.
Now, so my question is on just that piece of that song. Obviously, it means something to you guys to use that as your theme song. If if there is no free will or anything like that, if every thought that we have is just a result of law of physics, then you're not really reasoning; you're just reacting.
I don't agree with that. First of all, even if it were true, it would just be that all my reasoning is being dictated. If you're going to go down that simple road of determinism, simplistic determinism, it doesn't mean I'm not reasoning. But
so
setting that aside, I mean, this issue of morality. How would you define morality? What is it about morality that you care about? Because normally when people call and say, "Okay, please explain to me how atheists justify their views on morality," and I've done that, and I've given lectures, and Sam Harris has written books and everything else. Just to try this a little differently, when you are talking about morality, what is your concern? What is it that you're trying to find out?
I think it's very. I've watched this show a few times, and morality is brought up quite a bit, and there's only so much that you can talk about it without circling. But for me, my morality comes from a great mind, and I think in your worldview, it is really the laws of physics. Is that true?
Okay. What we mean and understand by morality, I would say, comes from great minds, our minds.
I would say the
but
great
you didn't.
mind.
But okay, John, you didn't answer the question. Okay, so I asked, what is it you care about? What is it you're trying to decide when you have concerns about morality? What does morality mean to you? And you told me that you think morality comes from the great mind. What does that mean? Does that mean that there's a great mind out there and anything it says is necessarily good?
Well, before we move on, I'd like to hear an answer to your first question.
Okay.
What is your concern when you're talking about morality? What is it specifically that you're talking about?
Well, morality, good and wrong.
What does that mean, though?
What is what? Good and bad, or good and evil, or what does that mean?
What does that mean to you, is what I'm asking.
Well, what it means to me is, in my opinion, it's maybe evolution helped, or maybe my mother kind of taught me a little bit with how I should treat others, or maybe my society that I grew up in. But
to what end? Like, is there some goal, or is there a metric, or how do you define what somebody does, whether or not it's even in the realm of morality?
Well, let's just say, lying. Some lying individuals think that, if I was to lie to somebody because the lie would hurt them, that, that is justified, and some others might think the lie is wrong. You should
so
be
the problem, Johnny, is that you're talking about an action and how you would assess it. And Tracie and I were asking basically, what's the goal?
Okay, so here's the thing. Let me just see if I can make this clear, because I understand that this is not an unclear kind of question. But for example, if I put my glasses on, right? I don't know if you can see the screen, but I'm putting on a pair of glasses. Now I've just put I've just put glasses on. Is putting on the glasses an action that would fall within the realm of morality?
I mean, is it helping you? Can you see better with them on?
Is morality about being able to see better?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
I'm asking you.
We're obviously, me personally, no. I don't think you could take your glasses and throw it in the ocean. I don't think.
And that
really won't hurt my feelings.
Right, and that doesn't have anything in your head to do. That wouldn't be a moral action. There would be no moral judgment associated with the action of me throwing my glasses away, for example.
No.
Okay.
But if you threw your glasses away versus somebody in a different society, let's say North Korea, and the way they live their lives, would you say that's very similar as far as tossing your glasses or putting them on versus their dictatorship over there. Is that
okay?
No. What I'm trying to figure out is there are some things, and I agree with you. There are some things that people do that have nothing whatsoever to do with morality. They're not even moral or immoral actions. They're just actions, right? You can call them amoral if you want to. They're not. There is no moral judgment associated with them. So my question is, how do you figure out, before we even get going, how do you determine whether or not an action falls into the moral basket or doesn't? What are you calling morality?
Well, I think it's written on our heart, so that's where it's obviously a huge difference, and obviously you're laughing.
How do you tell if an action is moral or is within the realm of moral judgment?
I think you subconscious. I think you know. I mean, the Bible didn't exist when God did a lot of things that we might consider to be immoral. Now they knew.
Okay, well let me put it this way: if somebody said to you that they do think that me throwing away my glasses is immoral because they just feel like it, you obviously, and I agree with you, we think that it's not a moral action. What is your argument to that person who says, I feel in my heart that Tracie throwing the glasses away is immoral, and you have said previously, and I agree with you, that it does not fall into the realm of a moral judgment. So what would be your argument to that person beyond, well, it feels to me like it's not a moral judgment?
Well, I think, number one, I'd probably laugh. Number two, I wouldn't. I don't think I could take them too serious if somebody was to ask me literally that question. What if I decided to go and harm somebody?
All right, but do you understand, Johnny? Do you understand that we're trying to have a conversation here about what is morality, so that we can both explain to you how and why we come to our moral views. But all you're giving us is, I laughed at that person and I couldn't take him seriously.
But I guess what I'm saying is, if we're going to define it as whatever we feel is moral, that's going to be a big mess, because then, Ted Bundy murdering people could be moral if he feels like it's okay.
This is the problem with religious ideas about morality, is that every objection religious individuals come up to, every time they have some objection about a secular moral system, their system doesn't solve it either. And here, we've tried to take a different tact, and Tracie went down the path that I was going to go and then kind of gave up on, which is just define morality. Tell us how we determine there's actions that I can take that are morally good.
Right.
There are actions that I can take that are amoral, that have no moral evaluation.
Right.
And then there are actions I can take that are immoral.
Right.
All three of us, I'm assuming, agree on that.
Right. We seem to.
Tracie could put her glasses on, and that would be the amoral, no moral evaluation. We agree, right? Mm-hmm.
I do agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tracie could give those glasses to someone who needs them, and that would be morally virtuous. And Tracie could stab me in the neck with her glasses, and that would be another action she takes with those glasses that would be viewed as immoral.
Right. And so my question is kind of what are you using as your distinction? What are the edges of your basket? Even if they might be a little fuzzy, what are the edges of your basket that contains the moral actions? Like, how do you determine what's inside and outside that basket?
I don't know. Maybe we're just kind of circling now. Or maybe it's me just not understanding. But really, what I was trying to get at is, why is it objectively wrong to murder, or why is it objectively right to love?
I guess what I'm trying to get at is, are we even talking about the same thing? If we're going to have a discussion about morality, shouldn't we at least agree on what is morality before we even start? How can we ask about what is moral or not moral if we don't even know what we're talking about when we're talking about morality? How are we measuring it?
I thought it was I think you guys kind of took it, to a whole new level. I thought it was very, very understanding of what
that's the problem.
Talking about when we're talking about moral rights. I'm not talking about
that's the problem.
I'm talking about right from wrong.
That's the problem, Johnny. You think it's just obvious what's right and wrong, and we're saying I used to hold your beliefs that it's just obvious. I used to hold your belief that God just wrote it on our heart, and then I found out, first of all, there's no way to tell whether God exists or wrote anything on anybody's heart. But when we're talking about morality, for example, if you ask me, what do you mean about morality? What do you mean when you talk about morality? I'm talking about the well-being of thinking creatures. And those things which are benefit and promote the well-being of thinking creatures are what we call good, and those things that diminish the well-being of thinking creatures are the things that we tend to call evil.
Correct, but something, since I'm not dealing with the materialistic world, the laws of physics right now. So if I'm talking about the great mind, and you're talking about it's good for your society, are you talking about Mother Hitler's society, are you talking about Hitler's society or Mother Teresa's society?
No, I'm talking about.
Rape.
Okay, Mother Teresa was a monster who was obsessed with suffering, so you probably shouldn't contrast her with Hitler since she was comparable. But second of all, I'm talking about the physical facts about reality. I'm talking about the physical facts that show that if you cut off my head, that is bad for my well-being. And if you promote a society where it's okay to cut off somebody's head, that is bad for that society. Can we at least agree on that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if we agree that those things are bad, my reason is because they are contrary and diminishing the well-being of human beings. What's your reason for thinking they're bad?
I don't know. I get tongue-tied and stuff like that, so I do apologize. But
why do you think it's bad? You called to ask why we think, for example, why murder is objectively immoral. Now, first of all, murder is a legal definition, but the unjustified killing of a person, I think all of us would say is immoral. And I just gave you an objective, a non-subjective reason. What is your reason?
But in the evolution world, if your cousin is the bacteria in your shower, then I don't think that you have an objectively. You just have a subjective opinion right now, and I just find it to
Johnny,
be if you're in a room.
Johnny, is it a subjective opinion that cutting off my head is bad for me?
I think it's an absolute fact.
I agree. So I don't know why when I ask you, I've told you why I think it's bad. And when I ask you, why do you think it's bad, you start talking about bacterial cousins. Why do you think it's
bad? Because the two opposite worlds are, your
no, it's not.
Bacteria,
okay, Johnny,
God.
Johnny, just answer the damn question. Why do you think it's wrong to cut off someone's head?
Because it's written on my heart from the Lord.
Thank you. I've been trying for 2.5 minutes now to get you to just say that.
Well, he has kind of said that, though, to be fair. He's been saying that.
He's also said a whole bunch of things that are periphery. Now, I've given you my reason why cutting off someone's head's bad, and you've given me your reason for why cutting off someone's head's bad. Now, the two of us have to share space on this planet, right?
Correct.
Along with all the other people who are out there, right?
Yep.
What if they think that God has written something else in their heart? How do we tell what God has actually written on their heart?
Yeah.
And why does it matter what God has written on their heart if we already have a non-subjective reason why it's bad?
Because there appear to be a lot of people who think it's okay to cut someone's head off for God.
And have slaves.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going with the Bible, Johnny, if you're going with the Bible supports slavery. Is that moral or immoral?
Well, as far as the whole slavery thing goes, I can't justify that. Do I agree with it? If we're just talking about what the words say, no, of course not. I mean,
well, if I were to ask you, Johnny, if I were to ask you, would it be okay for me to enslave you under the terms in Exodus 21?
Under the terms, if we, obviously they whether they left some things out, me and you're having a conversation, and it's being dialogue, but what I'm not talking about is I'm sitting on a chair and there's a tree in front of me. I'm not talking about everything. I'm just giving you the basic of the conversation. And so if we're just taking it from word, no, I would say that I don't understand that piece of it, and I'm trying to, obviously.
What is it you don't understand?
I don't understand it. No, I wouldn't allow you to slave me. That wouldn't be cool.
Okay, but would it be morally permissible for me to enslave you under what it says in Exodus 21?
No, but I think that they were.
Then why is it in the Bible?
I think it's I've heard this talk before. I really don't want to talk about the slavery talk, but
okay. See you later.
Oh, I actually had more questions.
Oh crap!
That's okay.
No, it's not okay. It's not okay. I shouldn't have done that.
No, it's all right. But yeah, I still am. I guess my biggest question on it would have been, if you come to two groups of people who are incompatible and both of them are saying God has told us this.
I mean,
what do you do?
I will justify ending the conversation because Johnny clearly had no answers and didn't want to go anywhere near.
The one thing he said, though, is that he was trying to understand these issues, and so I was happy to talk with him based on that. But to me, the question is, he's saying that he was trying, I guess, to at certain points in the conversation imply that your morality was subjective. And yet his is purely subjective. Like, it's whatever I feel is moral.
Yeah.
And then but the problem is that people have very conflicted feelings about what is moral. And all you have to do is look around the globe to see that there are people who are, just like we were talking about the foreclosure, they are extremely committed to their concepts of morality, like very, very convinced. And yet they are in stark disagreement with other groups of people who say that this is not just a slight difference of opinion, but is that what they're doing is absolutely immoral.
This is the thing I pointed out, and he seemed to agree that it was a non-subjective fact that it is not in
your best interest.
In my best interest to have somebody cut my head off, and he also seemed to agree or think that it was objectively wrong to own slaves as it's outlined in Exodus 21. And then when he had to try and reconcile. Hang on a minute. I think that I have an objective morality that's coming from God, the great mind, and this same great mind inspired this book which says something is clearly moral. I'd just rather not think about that.
Yeah, no, I understood.
That was...
I understood.
We'll avoid doing that in the future. But